my video series on the heroine's journey. I'm Susanna Liller, and it's time to find your happiness. Today, we're going to talk about one of the biggest questions I get from women who I'm coaching, who are taking my course on the real life heroine's journey, about direction. They say, okay, so we're on the road. We've landed. We answered our call. We left our comfort zone. We're here. Yes, you've told us there are ups and downs, and we understand that there are people that will help us, that the threshold guardians will stay with us indefinitely. But how do we know where to go? How do we know what's next? And I definitely get this question myself, because perfect example for me was after publishing my book, You Are a Heroine, a retelling of the hero's journey. I went through, that was a crossing of the threshold, writing the book, getting it published. Phew, I'm on the road. And then I didn't know what the next step should be. For a while, I had my publisher holding my hand saying, you should enter it in these contests and come to this conference with me. But then what? So much of what I do in the School for Real Life Heroines and what I've been doing since 2000, when I first started working with women and helping them be more empowered about their lives, is I help with this question of direction. How can we find our way forward? And there have been different ways. And of course, one way is my own personal hero, my own mentor, Joseph Campbell, the author who wrote The Hero with a Thousand Faces. His famous saying is, follow your bliss. Follow your bliss, and you'll find yourself on a road with people with similar bliss, and they will open doors for you that you didn't even know were there. So following your joy, what makes you joyful? Always leaning in that direction, towards joy, towards your bliss. What makes you happy? Your passion. Follow your passion. And then there's all the work that I did as a consultant. I did so much strategic planning with companies and with nonprofits. That was one of my things. And it was always about, why do we do this? Because we want to be pulling in the same direction. We want to be reading from the same sheet of music. We all want to be focused on the same thing. So together, let's decide what's our thing that we want to focus on. And I would say to them, it's like you're having it on your plate. What's on your plate over the next 3 years as you go forward? These 3 priorities, these 4 priorities, okay, that's it. And then no matter what comes down the pike as an exciting, interesting thing, and somebody on your team wants to add it in, well, look at what's on your plate. Do you have to take something off in order to do this? And will everybody be as invested in moving it forward as you go? So I also do strategic planning, but personal strategic planning with the women that I coach and in the School for Real Life Heroines. It's the same kind of thing. What's your focus? And develop that, and develop a action plan to go along with it to implement. These are the things that I'm going to give priority to as I go forward over the next 3 years. I talk about it, I compare it to grocery shopping and making a list. Think about grocery shopping when you don't have a list. And you go and you're pushing your cart, and and you pull things off the shelves and you throw it in your cart, and you end up at the checkout, and I don't even know if I need half this stuff, or how am I going to do that recipe? And Or you sit in your car in the parking lot, or however you do it, and you make your list, what you want to focus on when you go up and down those aisles in the grocery store, being on that page. And then the chances that you'll get what you want are so much greater. So it's making a plan for your life. It's not a company, but it's you. Your wild and precious life deserves some thought. So I have a way that we put together a personal strategic plan. And actually, it's in my book, You Are a Heroine, and it's also in my school for real life heroines. And another way to stay focused is I use the circle. I have a free webinar, again, on my website about doing a circle. And what you put in the center is what you want to focus on, what you want to bring about. And so as you travel on this road, which we've already talked about, has so many ups and downs and things that you're not necessarily expecting, it's so good to have a way to keep your priorities centered and focused, and to be able to bring things to you that you're looking for. So that's what goes as the priorities in your plan, as what goes in the center of your circle. And it's so easy, it's really easy to get distracted. Even if you are trying to focus and you put things in the center of your circle and you know what your priorities are and what's on your plate and what's on your grocery list, it's still so easy to get distracted. And all the stories, the myths, the fairy tales, there are examples of how this distraction happens, because it's a human life thing, right? So think about the story of Odysseus, the great hero of the Trojan War that Homer told us about. And his whole story, he left the Trojan War, he was a hero, and for 20 years, he was wandering. He wanted to go home to his wife in Ithaca, Penelope, and he wandered for 20 years, and it was all about different goddesses and monsters and all kinds of different things leading him astray. And his story is a quintessential hero's story, hero's myth. And then our friend Dorothy and her friends, the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion, they're all on their way, going down the path, the yellow brick road to Emerald City, and the poppies come, which of course have to do with the Wicked Witch, and they all fall asleep. And how often do we fall asleep when we're on our journey and we forget what our goal is, or we forget how we wanted to really write that screenplay, and then it's 10 years later and we still haven't picked up our pen. So I'm reminding you, stay awake, stay focused. Just don't let those distractions keep you from your passion. And then there's a tool that we talk about a lot, I do, in the School for Real Life Heroines, and that's your intuition, your inner voice, your wise inner voice, that if you are connected to it, you get a lot of guidance and direction. And how do you connect to it? So there's different exercises that you can use to help you. One that I recommend is the work of Linda Capaccioni, writing with your non-dominant hand. It's, again, I always talk about connecting to your intuition. You need to unhook from your brain or circumnavigate your brain. So maybe it's more like circumnavigating your left brain so you can bring your creative right brain more to the fore. And if you have a question, you can use your dominant hand to write the question and then answer it with your non-dominant hand. And you will be surprised at what kind of wisdom comes out. And of course, meditation is well known as a way for you to access your inner wisdom. Other ways that I've used is journaling, particularly Julia Cameron's morning pages, where you're just dumping your thoughts on 3 pages every morning. And that clears your mind out. She calls it vacuuming out your brain so that you can get to the intuitive, creative thoughts that come up in us all the time, but we don't hear it because we're so layered over with distractions and everything, all the noise of normal living. So practicing a way to be able to hear your intuition, tune into that frequency, is advisable because it's a guide for you to find your direction on the journey. And I have another way where you can actually use your feelings, and we can talk about that. I want you to remember, I've talked about this before, that there is a metaphor that I use for being out there on the road, actually for the whole kind of journey transition, and that's being in the hallway. So your comfort zone was a room that you loved and you hung out in and you felt good in there, and it was great until it wasn't anymore, and you decided to leave it. So you left that room, shut the door behind you. However that transition happened, leaving and going out into the hallway, that's crossing the threshold. It could have been hard, it could have been not so hard, but you're in the hallway on the road. And picture in front of you all these different doors lined up. And how do you know which door? And every door is a different option for you going forward. So at any time you can assess your options. What are my options going forward? So I have an exercise I want to do with you, which will require you again to get a piece of paper and a pencil. So take a moment, pause me if you have to, and go find that. So here's the first thing I'd like you to do is put down on that piece of paper where you are now in journey terms. So maybe it's, I'm just landing on the road. I've been here for a while. I'm so lost. I've been going down blind alleyways and I need help finding my way. I don't know. Just write down where you are. And then on the next line, what are the emotions you're feeling? Maybe just 3 emotions. Maybe they're frustrated, scared, excited, apprehensive, but get into what are the feelings you're feeling being in the place you're at on the journey. Okay. Now, those doors, what are the different options before you? So if I were to use one of my places that I was unclear about, and I have talked about having become an entrepreneur, left the manufacturing company I was in, and then the person that was with me, who was partnering with me, decided I was not the partner for her anymore. And there I was. So my options, what do I do? How do I find my direction now on this road of adventure, misadventure at the time I was thinking. So my options, go right back to the manufacturing company. They would take me. I could do that. I could find another job. I could go into another company. I could start looking for another job. I started out as a teacher, an English teacher, go back to teaching. That was another possible option. I could continue on by myself and just pull myself up by the bootstraps and keep on going. I could collect unemployment, or no, I couldn't do that. But there were other options, I'm sure. And so you got your options. And then you think of them as kind of the different options and different doors. And then what's guarding each option? Like, what's the fear or person or belief that might be standing in those doorways blocking you? And you consider that. Well, there's the go back to school. I've been there, done that. It's been so long ago. And yeah, so it's not in me. I'm not excited about it. And then there's the going back into the manufacturing business, the feeling, what's guarding it. Again, going backwards, I would be taking a step back. And another job, well, so that has some, because I like the open possibility of it. And so what's guarding that door? Maybe the belief that I couldn't do it, or it would take a long time to find something in this job market. And then there's the doing it by myself. And there's something about that there's a challenge to it, that, okay, she didn't want to work with me. I'll show her I can do it. So what's guarding that? Well, is fear that I can't do it. So, excuse me, let's then look at what are those guards saying in front of each of those doors. English teaching, oh, it's not for you anymore. Going back to the manufacturing company, you don't want to go back to where you've already been and you left it. Don't you remember? You wanted to leave. You don't want to go back into corporate life. And then there's the one about keeping going on your own. That might be, I'd have freedom. I'd have freedom. That's what I'm hearing. Much more freedom and flexibility. And what was the other one? Teaching, going out on my own, finding something else similar, back to manufacturing, and then this one. Okay, so then the next step for you, what's the feeling you get from each one? And I think I'm probably repeating myself, but been there, done that, been there, done that. I might be getting into a similar situation kind of feeling if I went out looking for another job. And then there's kind of piqued my interest about what could I do if I actually kept going on my own. So there's the feeling that each one gives you when you think about going through that door. And then how about this one? What scares you the most and why? What would scare you the most? For me, I think it was going out on my own. All the others were kind of ho-hum, being protected in kind of a larger situation, larger company, but going out all by myself, being by myself, all dependent on me and my own accountability, that's scary. Which one calls to you the most? Which one excites you? which one has so much energy to it that you'd be willing to explore it? And I think that's again, the other ones were ho-hum for me, but the one certainly going out on my own had the most energy. So that kind of is the breakdown of how okay, all right, I'm willing to explore this one, keeping on my own. And now, 3 small steps in that direction. So looking online to find out what are the potential proposal requests that are out there that I could write a proposal for. Maybe check with somebody who could give me advice, meet with somebody who's also already doing consulting work that I could sit and talk to. Going to a meeting of consultants that share their ideas for how to find work. So small things to move in that direction. This is the option exercise. It's considering your options, but considering them looking at how you feel about them, considering the feeling, which one is the most energy for you, and then 3 small steps to move forward. So I hope this helps you with the direction question. What do I do now? There's tools you can use, ways to find your way. And of course, I would love to help you with that. So in the meantime, we'll keep going together on this journey and talk about the other steps, the other milestones, the other things you'll encounter. I'm really happy that you joined me for this particular video. I hope you'll follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And always remember, you are a heroine.